Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a breaking and explosive story that's sending shockwaves across Eastern Europe. Reports are emerging that Belarus has begun mobilizing up to 10,000 troops, with many analysts suggesting this could mark the opening of a brand new nightmare front for Ukraine. And behind it all, as always, stands Vladimir Putin, furious, determined, and seemingly ready to gamble big on reshaping the war in his favor. What's really happening here, and what does this mean for the already intense conflict in Ukraine? Let's unpack it all step by step. Over the past several days, satellite images and intelligence leaks have pointed to an unusual military buildup inside Belarus. Columns of armored vehicles, increased movement of Russian advisors, and an uptick in training drills near the Ukrainian border all signal that something serious is underway. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, a longtime ally and dependent of Putin, has confirmed that defensive measures are being taken, but sources within European intelligence circles say this mobilization looks far from defensive. They believe the 10,000 Belarusian soldiers could be preparing either for direct support to Russian forces in Ukraine or to create a new pressure point that forces Kiev to divert troops northward. This move appears to be a direct response to what Moscow views as recent Ukrainian successes and the growing Western military support for Kiev. Over the past few months, Ukrainian forces have managed to stabilize critical sectors of the front and even launch limited counterattacks in the south and east. For Putin, whose military has suffered staggering losses, the opening of another front, especially from Belarus, could provide a strategic distraction and a way to stretch Ukraine's defenses thin. However, it also comes with enormous risks. Belarus's own population has shown very little appetite for war, and the idea of sending their soldiers to die for Russia's ambitions is deeply unpopular. Inside the Kremlin, sources say Putin has grown increasingly frustrated with what he calls the slow pace of Russia's operations in Ukraine. The decision to push Lukashenko into greater military involvement could be his way of signaling to the world, and to his own generals, that Moscow still has leverage and regional allies willing to act. But experts warn that this move could backfire dramatically. If Belarus crosses the line and commits troops, it would erase any illusion of neutrality and potentially trigger new Western sanctions or even NATO's defensive posturing near Poland and the Baltic states. For Ukraine, the possibility of a northern invasion brings chilling memories of early 2022, when Russian troops advanced from Belarus toward Kiev. Although Ukrainian defenses are now much stronger, such a move would force them to reallocate valuable resources away from the Eastern Front, where the fiercest fighting continues. Ukrainian officials have already stated that they are closely monitoring Belarusian movements and have reinforced key defensive lines along the border. They also warn that any aggression from Belarus would make it a co-aggressor in the war and a legitimate military target. On the ground, Belarusian social media and opposition outlets are buzzing with reports of forced conscription, emergency call-ups, and movement restrictions for men of military age. Some claim that Russian officers are directly commanding certain Belarusian units, further fueling speculation that this mobilization is less about Belarus's defense and more about Moscow's desperation. Lukashenko, who relies heavily on Putin's financial and political support, may find himself trapped. If he refuses to comply, he risks losing Russian backing, but if he joins the war, he could ignite massive unrest at home. Internationally, this development has sparked swift reactions. NATO officials have described the reports as deeply concerning, while the European Union has called on Belarus to avoid being dragged into Putin's war. Meanwhile, the United States has warned of severe consequences. If Belarusian troops cross into Ukrainian territory, Analysts believe that even a symbolic deployment could alter the strategic balance and escalate the war to an even more unpredictable phase. So, is this the moment when Putin finally plays his last regional card? Or is this yet another bluff designed to scare you, Ukraine and the West, into hesitation? The truth may emerge in the coming days as more evidence of troop movements becomes clear. What's certain is that the mobilization of 10,000 Belarusian soldiers, whether for combat or coercion, marks a dangerous escalation and a reminder that this conflict still has many layers left to unfold. That's all for today's breakdown, but this story is far from over. The situation between Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine is evolving rapidly, and we'll be here to track every twist and turn. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth coverage and analysis of global events as they happen. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next update.